we should start with, we have everything named, put in groups, and now we can throw in the deformers, I think. Let's give it a try. Let's start with selecting the face and create deformer, or actually not select anything, and let's try to just create a deformer, and let's see what happens. Now notice that in the group parts group, there's a pink selection here on the face group, but it doesn't mean that I'm selecting anything. Now I'm going to create deformer, and first of all, you can see the name of the deformer. I would say it's the face deformer. That would be nice. And destination part is preset as face. Now that's because we are currently Live2D knows that we are currently working on the face group, so it preset face as the destination parts. We can always change that by selecting here, or we can change it later. Usually I don't care where it is. I just set it up, and then I just create it, and then I'll set where it goes to. But yeah, let's go with face and associated deformer, which basically means the parent deformer. Now we keep it as reference plane because the parent should be neck, but we don't have that yet, so we create a reference plane for now. And types of deformer, there's rotation and curved surface. We are using curved surface right now. The number of all these divisions, just go by default. 4x4 is fine. Don't worry about it until you are very familiar with Live2D. So let's say, but keep them universally the same though, because especially the conversion divisions, if the parent and child deformers do not share the same 4x4 or 3x3, then it will show a lot of glitches, so avoid that. But anyhow, let's go ahead and create, wait a minute, where's my face deformer? Okay, there you go, enter. And now you see there's this grid here, this 4x4 squares red frame. Now this is our deformer. Now currently nothing belongs into this deformer, and that's why it doesn't affect anything no matter what you do to it. You can move it around, you can resize it, you can move parts of the subdivision squares, it wouldn't matter. So let's go ahead and move it around. Now other than clicking in the center, holding onto the red dots, you can also move it by tapping the arrow key, up, right, down, left, but by how much it depends on how your zoom factor. So the more you zoom into the canvas, the less the each tap would count. Okay, so this might be 1 pixel, but if you zoom up, every time might be 5 pixels or something. All right, so let's go with. First of all, we want to have the deformer size to cover up the whole child object. Now, for Live2D 2.0 or above, we have the option to have child contents extending beyond the boundary of the parent deformer, but it's not a good practice, and it affects the quality of deformation. Also, it requires more render power if you have something that goes beyond the boundary. So it's better to be safe, make it larger than it has to be. You can go beyond the canvas, but just don't have the child object bigger than the parent one. Okay, so let's make sure, since that the face will be a child, we want to make sure the whole deformer covers the face. Now you don't want to be too big, because first of all, that would scale up everything beyond that level. So if this deformer has a parent, then that one has to be bigger, and the parent of that one has to be bigger, and it's going to be very big, too hard to control. Now it's only not a matter of control. Also, we need a deformer because we need to move around these subdivision things, right? But if it's too big and the subdivision is too far apart, we cannot have sort of micro control over the area. whatever you do will stretch a whole bunch of area, and usually doesn't work that way. So let's make sure something that's optimal, not too big, not too small. Let's say this one. I can actually have it smaller. It doesn't have to be square. I can go with rectangle since the face is sort of oval shape. And that should be good. Maybe I want to center at the mouth and nose right there. And that's good. Now, second step is to assign the face to this deformer as a child. So let's click on face. There's multiple ways to click on a drawable objects. One of them is clicking on them on the parts palette. The other one is just clicking on them with the right tool. Now there are two cursors. One is the drawable object selector, which if you turn it, when you switch to that mode, then whatever you click, you would click on the drawable object. But if you click on a deformer selector, then you will be selecting the deformers. All right, so you can do that, or there's one more way, is to right click it. Let's say you want to click on a face and you know the face is somewhere in this area, so you just right click anywhere, but now you have to go to select drawable object, and now you can see all the potential objects that you can select, because these are the ones closest to where you just clicked on. Alright, so I clicked on here, and Live2D tells me that, well, this point, there are 5 objects. Which one do you want to select? So I want to select the face, which is this one. And there you go, I have the face selected. Now let's go ahead and assign the parent deformer by going to the edit palette on this side. Edit. Edit palette changes whatever depending on what you select. So you select this object, it goes like this. You select the other object, it display whatever the current information is. So let's go on face, and let's say it is the face deformer. So as you can see, the face deformer is highlighted along with the face. Now whenever, that means currently when they're linked, this is the child, deformer is the parent, then whenever you move the parent, you would move the child and all the children. But moving the child doesn't affect the parent object or parent deformer. Okay. Now, drawable objects cannot be a parent of another object, neither drawable or deformer. Deformer though can have a drawable object child, or it can have another deformer as a child. So that's sort of the general rule. So now we have face as the object of face deformer. We can, first of all, let's try to move around with the deformer. Okay, so this is the face deformer. Let's try to move it. Now what would happen? Obviously if I move this to the left, then the face would move to the left, but everything else should stay the same. Alright, so I move, and there you go. I'm moving along with the content. Control Z to back a step, and now we get back to the normal state. Now, many people would, first time trier, beginner would always move around the perimeter and like, nothing's moving. Why is that? Even though I set up the deformer, nothing's moving. Well, it doesn't work that way. In order to move, which we'll do right now, we have to go ahead and select the right deformer first. Now what we're about to do is to have set up the angle X and angle Y. These parameters are supposed to control the face, left and right for X, up and down for Y. So we will go ahead and set that up. Make sure you're selecting the deformer but not the face. Okay? Now, first of all, click on a blue box on the left side of angle X, and you will see this empty square here instead of 2 lines. Click it again, turn it back into 2 parameters. Click again, it will merge them. This is how you have the grid control panel that some people see in my tutorial. All right, so once you got that, let's click angle X, angle Y. You see it highlighted as purple as you hover, and you click it, and that's how you edit this deformer. To have this, currently deformer is not active, or hasn't been activated, hasn't been initiated with the deformer that we're supposed to control. And now we need to set them up to initiate it. Now you see in particular of angle X, angle Y, there's negative, it's a scale between -30 and +30. In the middle is 0. Some of them is -1, 0, and +1, whereas some of them is just 0 and 1. All right, you'll figure it out later, but first of all, these are optional. You can always change them by the way you want, or you create new ones. But the idea is it's just for reference. It means that between this bar and this bar, there are 30 frames or 30 points that you can set as a key point. So if you, actually I'm not going to explain that far. So let's start ahead with add 3 keys. Click it, and you'll see 3 keys are created at -30, the middle 0, and +30. Now you want to delete all, you can press delete all. The other way to create these key points is to click on it, or right click to delete them. Add 2 keys would add at the minimum and maximum. And there's one more way, I think it's new, and you can enter a value, let's say -29. So right here, stacking on top of -30, right here, you can actually enter the value -29, but you cannot do this by clicking on them, because you are you follow the increment of 5 in this current scale. So that's a way, if any reason you need to create particular specific number, then you can do it here. And then select this. You see it here created, right? You select it and click delete, it go away. So let's go ahead and add 3 key points. And let's not talk about edit or anything else, and let's move on with, actually, might as well do angle Y as well. So on the left side, you can select the other parameter, angle Y, also add 3 keys. Now you got both of these activated, and press OK. There you go. You see your deformer selected, and you see that there are 9 green dots. If you deselect your deformer, then you see blank dots. If you select your drawable object, the face, you also see blank dots. So you only see it when you select this particular face deformer. What it means to have green dots, it means that this currently has a key point at this point, at these points. The red dot, circling green dot, means that you are currently selecting this value on the perimeter. So we are currently at 0x and 0y. If we click and drag, we can move the red dot around, and you can see on your right side right here, you can see the value of angle X and angle Y. So this actually represents where you are currently at on the grid. Now you can click on them to pin it, or you can, if you have trouble clicking on exactly at the center, right? It's always like, I try to click on the center, but it's like 0 and -1, so what do? Well, you can stay close to it, and when you see it highlighted as yellow, let me move to the way, if you see highlighted as yellow, and you right click, and you can see the tooltip right here, it says right click to magnet snap. So you right click and it snaps onto that point, or whatever closest key point it is. Now, you notice that whenever you're selecting a non-key point, so these random like non-30 or 0 numbers, and you'll see nothing selected, but whenever you hit the key points, then you'll see it highlighted. Now notice the difference, but it basically means that whenever you're not at a key point, whatever you do to the object will not make any changes. It will not be registered, it will not be saved, and it's best not to touch anything when it's not selected on a point. So let's go back to a particular point, select. Because we always what you do with Deformer in order to make things move, it's basically telling it the first frame and the end frame of a timeline. So in between this point and this point, the head should move from the center to the left. That's what you're trying to talk to Live2D. All right, this is what kind of command you want to make it to do. So that means that currently at center point, we don't need to do anything because the face is already at the center. So let's move on to the next point. So let's start with left. Now I've got to move the head to the left side. So I clicking and dragging. Oh shoot, I forgot to clean up the neck. Wells. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother with it. So I'm gonna left click and drag, and you can see the face moving along with it. All right. Now let's do a little bit extreme. Let's go all the way here. Now I've selected the deformer. Deformer has a child object, the face, and I'm at -30 of angle X, 0 of angle Y. What I did was I set up this perimeter, and remember, it is really telling the 2 points, the starting point and the end points of this movement. So now you can see I'm moving it around. As I move closer to that side, it goes to where it was last registered. Okay, so that's the concept of Live2D. That's obviously too much to move, so I'm going to backspace this action by tapping on Ctrl-Z. Now a few functions that you should know, a few handy tools, is that if you want to click and drag, and you're using the mouse, and your hands are kind of shaky, and you want to move it horizontally straight instead of anything up and down, right? What you need to do is, where's my deformer? Edit, redo. Did I just delete my deformer? I think I did. Maybe I did. Well, let me restart this. So I made a mistake. It's a known bug that when you are clicking, especially shift clicking or control clicking, if you are clicking and dragging things in Live2D and press Ctrl-Z to undo while you're still holding down buttons, you might back more than one step and you cannot redo a step ahead. So what I just did, I accidentally undo 2 steps at least, and my deformer is gone along with my face object. You can see also the parameters are not set up, so I don't know how many steps have I backed up, but that's a major mistake. And however, I accidentally closed the file without, I thought I was going to retrieve the previous file, but I didn't save the file. I never saved this part, so that was a crisis for me. And you might run into that eventually, but what you're gonna do in this scenario, it's very simple. You can still retrieve it from your backup folder. All right, so I might as well tell you how to do that in case you run into it. So you go here to, with help, go to the top menu, go to help, and there should be a open auto backup folder. Now by default, Live2D has the auto backup. You can change it. You can change the setting by going to, where is it? Option setting? Yes, option settings. And the only tab here is auto backup. You want to have it turned on unless you're really low in memory, whatever reason, right? Otherwise, set it up and set up the backup interval and backup size. And 500 megabytes is more than enough. I don't know it's probably 5 minutes, which is cool. And that means that it's on. So what you gotta do to retrieve it is going to help, open auto backup folder, and it should pop up this folder. And you should see by organize it by date, you will see the first one is probably one that you want. So let's click and drag. And there you go. I have retrieved my file saved. And immediately you want to, if this is the one you want, Control S and save it. Save it somewhere safe. Right? Save your model. Always save your model. Don't do what I just did. But anyhow, this is probably for the first class, and I'll continue in the next episode.